right, everyone. Welcome and good morning, good day, good etc. Welcome back to my stream. My name is Doña, aka Doña the Light, and today I have back with me a very special guest star, my best friend Sabrina Wells. She is an emotional wellness coach. If it is your first time here, this is going to essentially play like a video podcast, so don't feel pressure to actually watch the video. Just put us on in the background, listen to the conversation, throw in your I know that's right, in your mind. And if you want to drop them in the chat or the comments, we appreciate it. If you're catching this live stream on Twitch, once again, you can feel free to contribute in the chat. We are here to have a conversation with the community. If you're catching this replay on YouTube, please feel free to drop your thoughts, opinions, agreements, disagreements, anything in the comment section. If you're interested in working with Sabrina, she is accepting new clients. I will drop all of her contact information in the description of the YouTube video, as well as my contact info, my merch link, all that stuff. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, y'all. Just do it. Just do it. Right. So, the title of today's stream is From Practice Bae to Fiancé, which, I came up with that on my own, y'all. So, Sabrina and I are going to be discussing basically our mirror journeys through going from Practice Bae to Fiancé. Like, we had some interesting situationships. And we kind of came into each other's lives around that time. So, Bree, go ahead and kick us off and get us started.
I mean, we started off, that wasn't the connection for our connection.
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the basis for our connection. It was definitely on some old healing stuff and whatnot, and just the trials and tribulations. I was with somebody that I could take or leave, and no disrespect to him, like it's not like that, but I just wasn't present in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't for me. But I just was there, and I know you were going through your own thing and just trying to figure it out. And I think it just got to a point where just like, this ain't it, man.
Right. This can't be life cheap.
Yeah, I don't know who went first. Well, you know what? It could have been me because my partner was like, I was reading this book and it was like, ask the hard questions or whatever. So, do you want to be here? And I was just like, no. So we should. See, I appreciate them asking me because I didn't. You ask me the questions, I give you the answers, but But I was like, so should we break up? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be good.
I think so. I think we're headed that way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're there. We're not headed. You have reached your destination.
Oh my goodness.
It's on the left.
Right.
So yeah, I just was like, well, okay, I'm just gonna be single and we'll see what happens. So that very much was my approach to things, was just like, I guess I'll just try being single. That relationship was on and off for 5 or 6 years. And so I'm like, well, not that it was a waste, but I just felt very unfulfilled in that relationship. I definitely had some highlights and stuff. Like it wasn't a bad relationship, but it just kind of felt hollow. And so I just was like, I'm always trying to husband somebody up. Let me just be out here. Let me just be out here. That's what my thought was.
Get back to the streets real quick.
Yeah, but I mean, it was 2020, so nobody was out anywhere.
This is true. This is true.
It's time to like sit still. So that's definitely how we started it. Well, at least for me, that was my mindset of just, I'm just gonna exist and just have fun, and that was it. What was your, like, how did you transition into the journey?
It was honestly a huge catalyst was us having conversations about what was going on in your relationship, and it kind of gave me the courage to look at my relationship more objectively. But like you mentioned, we didn't really come together like, it wasn't like one of us was complaining about one of our partners and it was like, oh girl, yes, blah blah blah. Like that's not what attracted us to each other. We legitimately were like, your energy is everything, like the way that you speak, the way that you move. We both were yoga teachers. It was meant to be. But in me, first, as I mentioned before, focusing on myself and that passive aggressiveness that I needed to heal within myself, and then having someone like Bree who was like, yeah, girl, you need to cut that shit out. Like, she was very much, I mean, we did it for each other. She would hold me accountable to, I would share things with her. And it was never like, let me just go to someone who's going to validate my point of view. No, it was like, let me go to someone who's going to be as real with me as they would be with themselves. Like I understand where you're coming from. I see your perspective, but like, that wasn't right, or that wasn't this. And so I started seeing more and more my role in basically my misery or like discomfort in the relationship. And just like Bria mentioned, like, it wasn't a bad relationship. And I feel like that's kind of what keeps people places, where it's like, oh, we don't argue every day, and he's not abusive.
Yep.
He's not controlling. So, why should I complain? Or, why should I blah? And it just wasn't setting my heart on fire. Like, it just wasn't. And again, we had highlights to the relationship, but I recognized that as I was beginning to heal, I was down to take more accountability and be like, you know what? I do need to do this work. This is something that I need to work on. Let me work on translating this healing into my relationship. And I was down to do the work. I was like, we should go to therapy. We should do this, yada, yada, yada. And I was met with, it's not that bad. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, let's not really worry about it, And seeing that I'm being met with someone who wasn't down to do the work or didn't even see the potential for, what our relationship could be if we both put in the work, because the relationships are work. Marriage, relationships, period, are work on both sides. It's not just you find your soulmate and you fall in love and like, that's it. It's just easy. You know what I mean? It might be easy to do things with that person. Like for Bree, it was easy for me to communicate with her. It was easy for me to be transparent with her, And I think in a lot of ways, the relationship between her and I kind of illustrated to me how a relationship with my partner should be. As far as that transparency, and, just ease of communication and openness and things like that. But yeah, I would say for me, it was like, and my timeline is horrible, but let's just say like, okay, I noticed the passive aggressiveness, and then I met Bree, and then her and I started communicating, damn near all day, every day. And then I just started seeing more and more how I could work on myself. But that's how it really started. It started at me looking inward and being like, ooh, yeah, like I am not, I guess you could say absent of blame, because that's what I always wanted to do. Anytime I had a conversation with someone about my relationship, I'd be like, and he does this, and he don't do this, and blah, 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 blah. And I was always blaming him. And of course, the people that I'm speaking about are like, yeah, girl, you right, he trash. Like, he should just know. That should just be common sense. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why you should have to ask him to do the dishes or whatever. And, I got to Bree, and those weren't really, we'd have some of those conversations, especially when things were like aligning in our lives. We'd be like, whoa, he's doing that too? Because my dude is, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was never really, we never really like put down our partners in front of each other, or I never put down her partner in front of her. She never put down, and it wasn't because it was like, oh, we respect that. We didn't even know each other's partners, but it was like that type of language and communication just isn't purposeful. Like, it's not, it doesn't serve anything. It's just you venting. But again, you're not looking at yourself and saying, what's my role in this situation? What's my role in my misery? So, yeah. I would say that was kind of my catalyst. So, for you, Bree, after you dipped that toe back into not into the real streets, back into the virtual streets, how did that progress for you?
Well, I would be remiss to say, I think it's important to just focus on this part just a little bit, is the healing work we were doing as individuals.
Yes.
And just as you said, like, it wasn't a bash our partners thing, because like you said, it wasn't horrible. So, whatever, but that just wasn't our vibe. That's just not how we roll or whatever. Like, it's cool if we might vent about something, but it's never like, yeah, he ain't shit. And like, that's just, you know what I mean? It's just like, girl, yeah, he crazy. And then we keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that, but yeah, we both were at a point of, some deep healing, because we all at the crib, you know what I mean? We had time. And again, you nor I set out to, and if I'm misspeaking, please correct me. it wasn't like it's 2020, we're at home, let's heal. Like
Right.
that was,
Not
that
at all.
wasn't what I was thinking at all. But
Not
that's
at
what it
all.
quickly turned into.
Yeah.
And so sitting with myself and just, working on the things that I didn't like or didn't care for. And it's not even and it's important to like specify, like, not beating myself up like
Mm-hmm.
this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, fix it. Like, not like that, but just more so like, yo, I want better, I want to do better, I want to show up better, I want to be happier, I want to be peaceful. Like,
Right.
I want to be these things, and I want them for real this time, because I've been trying to get them for such a long time and I can't. And I'm gonna try some different stuff this
Mm-hmm.
time. And meditation was my gateway to a lot of my healing
Yes.
and the journaling, and it started putting things in perspective. I even got to a point that year, as I reminisced about past relationships, where I called up and I apologized to exes. Like, yo, I can see now
Yeah.
my part
I
in
remember that.
this, and I don't want you, but you deserve an apology, because I wasn't right. You know what I mean? I
Yes.
did some things that wasn't cool, and again, nothing egregious, but it's still emotionally harmful. You know what I mean? Or not as careful with someone's heart and your feelings as I should have been.
Right.
So that really set me up to be able to really navigate the hell out of virtual dating. I had never done it before, but I ain't had no problems. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I think it was because I came from a very like grounded place. I was doing my work. I wasn't still like, it's him, it's him, it's him. Like, nah, it's me too. And again, just doing my own work just made me be able to connect with people. Yeah, did you want
Absolutely.
to say anything about your healing before we start talking about these practice based?
Right? No, just I second everything that you mentioned, and I clearly, distinctly remember us having that conversation about you reaching out to exes and apologizing. And for anybody watching this, I would encourage you to maybe start off with like writing it down, and then if you have that type of bandwidth and relationship with that person still,
Yeah,
and you feel like it would be
do
beneficial
it.
to them to hear, not just you looking for validation and
Right.
wanting them to be like, oh my goodness, baby, you so amazing. Like, don't do it for that. Do it just because you genuinely want to share. Like, I now realize, you know, my passive aggressiveness, or, the way I ignored your needs, or, and again, like Bree said, it doesn't have to be like, I apologize for beating you up every day. Like, no, that's not.
Right.
No, you shouldn't have done that in the first place. But if you can acknowledge those kinds of things, again, even just getting them out in the way of journaling, in the way of speaking it to yourself, saying it out loud, whatever it is, I think would help a lot, because, again, I deeply believe that being able to see where you were accountable for someone else's suffering, not only your own, but someone else's suffering, kind of helps you move forward, because you're showing yourself that you're not leading by this belief like, oh, that's just the way I am, or that's just the way I was,
Yeah.
and that you believe that everyone can grow and that you can grow, and kind of creating more space. Because I think that when we do those things to our partners, especially when we can tell, which maybe later on we can tell, we can see a little bit more clearly, the way that we behave, how it impacted them. We kind of go back and think, oh, every time I did that, they did get really solemn, or their mood changed, or whatever, and now I'm in a different frame of mind, I'm in a different place, and now I can clearly see how that impacted them. I think that weighs on us a little bit, and if we can kind of free ourselves by either, like I said, contacting them if possible,
Mhm.
like I said, start with journaling.
Right.
Start with writing it down, because it's
Right.
for you primarily. It's
Yeah.
for you. If you can share that with them, that's great, but primarily it's for you and your healing.
Yeah.
um but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the accountability part is super important. It's like a cuss word. Accountability, submission, it's like cuss words around here.
Mm-hmm.
Just to certain folks, and it's like, no, we need to be accountable. Like, how are you going to grow? I mean, you're just dragging that same mindset, same energy from relationship to relationship, when you're not
Yes.
able to step out of yourself. The self-awareness, Like we have to have self-awareness, like on a daily, multiple times a day basis. Like we just need that, but that's not what we're taught. And so it's hard. But when you can sit with that, and again, not beating yourself up or whatever, acknowledging, yeah, ooh, that was kind of messed up. Ooh, I shouldn't have done that. That's bad. Making some kind of amends, whatever that looks like, and then forgiving yourself. You know what I mean? And wanting to do better, even if wanting to do better is as simple as when you catch yourself doing it, being in awareness, like, I did it again. You know what I mean? That's a start so that you can change it. Because again, I just hate I hate when we give people goals and they're so huge, like, okay, I need you to change your mindset and this and that. It's just like, yo, there's steps to this. Number one, I need to be in awareness that I'm even doing it.
Yes.
And, you know, typically the awareness is way after it happened. You're like, crap, I did do that earlier.
Yeah.
Then it's right after it happened. Then it's as it's happening.
Exactly.
And hopefully you get to a point where right before it happens, you're like, oh, I'm about to say something.
You can feel it, yeah.
Let me stop, you know. And then it's like, then I can make changes. But again, the self-awareness is just how we even get on that path. But yeah, so our healing was very integral, for this connecting with folks. So I just wanted to say that part.
No, I agree. And just real quick, as you're breaking it down, as far as, you know, people giving others these really huge goals, it makes me think of, and the fact that there are steps to it, makes me think of someone, which this is just from my perception based on what people have shared on social media, because I don't personally, well, I don't know if I do, but I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I saw this conversation between a parent and two children, and one of them has been diagnosed with ADHD, one of them has not. So the non-ADHD child, she asked, you know, what are the steps to doing the laundry? And they said, you know, you get the clothes, you put them in the washer, when the washer's done, you put them in the dryer. Whereas the child with ADHD, you know, he's going through it in his mind. And I think she asked him how many steps. So the first child said 3. The child with ADHD said 14.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, can you, you know, he's not writing it down. He's going through it in his mind.
Yeah.
And he said, well, first, excuse me, I got to separate the clothes from light to dark. Then I got to put the light clothes in the hamper. I got to take the hamper to the laundry room. I got to put all the settings on the washing machine. I got to put the soap, you know what I mean? Like step by step. And these are the actual steps that you would go through to do the laundry. And although the other child said 3, they would still have to go through those steps. It's just having them articulated and broken down, especially from someone like us as a life coach to our clients, makes everything so much more clear. You know, like, oh, okay, I don't have to just immediately go from dirty laundry to clean laundry. There are steps to this, you know, and it's relieving to know that you're not, you know, wrong or on the wrong path, or, you know, just you start thinking badly about yourself when you don't clearly see how to go from dirty laundry to clean laundry. So that's it. We got your back. But yeah, go ahead, Bree. Go ahead and lead us into these practice bays.
So one night I had just got done talking to you, like, oh, I think I'm gonna get on a dating app, but not right now. I think I'm gonna wait, but I think I'm gonna look into that. Okay, good night. And I'm sitting there, literally like 2 minutes later, I was on a Facebook dating app, like, I'm here. Let me go ahead and set this account up. And again, the other part of the healing is just listening to my intuition. When I move to do something, instead of me analyzing it, which is my very much analytical brain and, you know, trauma brain, where it's just like, let me look at every angle of this situation and make sure it's the right choice for me. You know, I was stepping out of that, and just, even though I had just said, oh, I'm gonna wait, but something in me was just like, no, go ahead and do it now. And I just was like, okay. But my old self would have been like, but no, I said that I wasn't going to, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna wait because that's what I said, and it's just like,
right.
Yeah, I didn't do that. So I got on and I set my account up, and you know, next morning, you know, got all these little messages, and it's cool and whatever. And again, I just kind of let my intuition lead me on that, because I had never been on a dating app before. And you know, I met some interesting folks. One of the first guys that I chatted with, that we actually met up in a park sometime down the road, you know, older guy, got stuck in Hawaii. Oh, poor baby, during COVID, had to stay in Hawaii, sadness, and surf all day.
Right. Poor thing. No. No one should have to suffer that way.
Right, and he owned his own businesses that ran themselves, so it didn't matter that he wasn't here.
Sheesh.
So his
Sheesh.
businesses did their thing. He still got paid, and he got to kick it in Hawaii for a few months. So that was
Right.
cool. But anyways, there wasn't a love connection there, but it was nice to like get out and to be out and whatever and blah blah blah. I will admit, like all of my interactions on there were good, but there was one. But before he reached out to me and I looked at his profile, and my intuition was just like, nah. And so I was texting with him like he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm good or whatever. And in his thing, he said something about he was looking for marriage. Now I just told you, I said I wasn't looking to settle down. So I just was like, I respect what you're saying, but you might not be a good fit. And it wasn't even that tipped me off. Something else, my body was just like, nah. But then he said that, so that really was number two. That was the second point. And I was just like, I don't, you're looking for marriage. I'm not really looking for that. And he's just like, oh, just be open. And so I was just like, I reasoned myself into being like, well, give it a chance and be open, even though there's already two strikes.
Right.
And that dude was retarded. And I'm sorry. That's not a PC word. Forgive me. That's not a PC word to say. Please forgive me. He had some issues for real. Like, not quickly, but and hey, boys and girls, please make sure you video chat ASAP. I mean, like as soon as y'all connect and you like, oh, I like you. Let's chat. Go immediately to a video chat. I don't care what platform you use. And that was generally my approach to it. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't video chat for a minute. But by the time we video chatted, I was just like, yeah, it's a wrap. Right. But he was very much, hey baby, and this and that and da da da, and kind of not aggressive, but just like, sir, I'm just getting to know you. Like, calm down. Right. But okay, you seem nice. But he was into like stuff that old people like that I wasn't, like cruising in his like 60-something whatever he had, Malibu with his boys down one of our major streets in Chicago. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't do that. And he's like, yeah. And then we just hang out in the parking lot. So, oh no, I definitely don't do that. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm like, whatever. And eventually, we FaceTime or video chatted, whatever, through the app. And why was he video chatting like this?
No. Not him tapping the phone. Is this thing on? Baby, can you hear me? Hello? Baby, you there? Sir?
Terrible.
Sir.
I was just like,
I can hear you and all 11 of your friends.
Then when I see him, I was like, oh, them pictures is about 15, 20 years old that you got. Oh, okay. All right. So then, I just was like, yo, you know what? I sat with it. And I created the kindest, no thank you. And I'm going to move around. This isn't a good fit. I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me get to know, like, for real. And I was for real. Like, I wasn't whatever. And I sent him that, and he just went in on me like I wasn't that cute. No way. I looked like a crackhead. He wasn't even interested, and And I was just like, it shocked me to my core. I've never had anyone speak to me that way. Number one, and then number two, it's such a lie because you were very much baby this, baby that, baby. Right. When you gonna hang out? And when can I take you out? Like all of this, and he was like, yeah, you ain't my type, no way. And I'm just like, okay. So that kind of startled the hell out of me. It made me a little afraid because he lived in a couple towns away from me. He said he was a police officer. So there's that. So we had never seen each other in person, never told him where I lived, none of that. Another tip for folks dating, if you have to if you're using your city, go drive to another city. Don't use your actual city. I live in the suburbs. So I went and drove to another suburb. And when I logged in that as my hometown. Just cause. just create, you know what I mean? Just create some distance. And that way I can still get people in my area, but not really sell exactly where I live. Because again, we live in the burbs. There's those small towns. They ain't that hard to,
Right.
find people. Anyway, so, but yeah, I got nervous. I blocked him on everything. I just was like, oh my God, oh my God. But I say all that to say my intuition told me from the get-go to move around and I didn't listen.
Right.
He wasn't for me, and then when I rejected him, now I'm the bitch. Now I'm this, now I'm that,
Yeah.
just because I didn't want to talk to him. Like my intuition sensed that and I didn't listen. So again, my healing journey was very integral in me being able to connect with people in a healthy way and not get the madness that other people got. I mean, before I go on, I'll let you, I don't know if you wanted to get in and say anything.
Yeah. No, I remember that, and I'm thinking, just how shocking it was, and it happens on dating apps, and you gotta I mean, it happens on social media, period, but it happens on dating apps, and the frustrating thing is, we're here to honestly get out of our comfort zone because we've been in relationships for so long where we're like meeting people in person and we're having these kind of interactions, and so to be on this social media platform or on this dating app is already kind of a learning curve for us. So to have someone type to you like that and to be so like say it with your chest, it's like, yo, chill out. But I remember kind of going through the same process of somewhat meeting people in person, but being on like the Facebook dating app, and then this app called Plenty of Fish. That was like my old faithful. Anytime I was ever single for like the past, 20 years, I would go on Plenty of Fish, however long Plenty of Fish has existed. So I remember having a conversation, I think it was with you, about, I don't know, I mean, we talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but there was a part of me that every time a man will reach out to me, and at that point, I'm pretty sure that I had opened it up to men and women, because I was like, let's just see how this goes. And the only time it would ever be a woman would be like a married couple where the wife was like reaching out like, hey, we want you to be a third. And I was like, nah. Nah. But there would be men or people who would reach out to me. And there was a part of me that's like, you have to respond to them and let them know that you're not interested. And so I would, again, type out these very nice, kind, like, no, thank you, I'm good, you're awesome. You know what I mean? Like super kind, generic type responses. And then a moment went by when I was like, I'm reaching out to people and they're not responding to me. And it don't make me feel some type of way because I never see it. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if you reach out to someone and then they respond in like a nasty way. Then it's like, ugh, but they just won't respond at all. And I don't know if it's because they're not interested. I don't know if it's because they're not on the app. It really doesn't matter, but they didn't respond. So then I stopped taking it upon myself to write these responses out to these people who I'm not interested in. Except for the ones that were like really, really persistent. Like you get people on that app who are just, you don't respond to them and they just continue reaching out. Hey, baby. Hey, let me take you out. Blah, blah, blah. You ain't wrote not nary a message to this person. And they just keep sending you stuff. And then they get blocked. But what I appreciated about having those interactions was it gave me the chance to learn how to communicate. I was learning how to be very direct with like what I wanted and didn't want. And granted, this is, all via text. Like I'm not physically saying it to anybody yet. But when I did have the interactions with people in person, it made it very easy. And I still, I was still a work in progress. Because I definitely remember some situations that I encountered where I was like, this isn't really my cup of tea. I don't really know how to get out of it because I haven't had enough practice talking about this. But that's what I appreciated about that dating process was just practicing. Because, you've been in this frame of mind, where you haven't been healed and you haven't held yourself accountable. You haven't held other people accountable for the way that they make you feel. And so to be in this sort of kind of safer space where there really aren't any consequences, like where you can literally just tell someone like, you know what, I don't like to do blank, or I'm not really into whatever, or, instead of this, I actually prefer this. Just to get that practice of communicating, it was very, very helpful to me. And I want to say there were one or two people on that app that I met in person. I think there was one or two people on Facebook dating that I met in person. And then there was one guy that I met at work. I was working at Amazon at the time. He was like my actual, him and like one or two other guys were like my actual practice baes before I met my husband Grover. But yeah, and it was a lot of tomfoolery. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It was the tomfoolery and the fuddruckery was it was it was real. It was very, very real.
And not to lessen your experience, but I just didn't have that. Like I made
Right.
some connections with like some dope guys, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody ever like really moved me. Like remember the one guy I went out with who like just talked the entire time,
Yes.
just felt so safe with me that he just told me everything. And after like 45 minutes,
You
I
were
was
his
just
life
like,
coach.
I was like, do you want to know anything about me?
May I enter the chat? Like, am I allowed? Please. Oh my goodness. I remember that
but
vividly.
yeah,
Vividly. Like this man was sharing, and
yeah,
a part of it is great. Like if that's what we were there for. Like sir, if I was your therapist, I'd be so elated right now because
yeah,
you are open and up, you're laying it on thick. Like I love it, but I'm not here for that.
yeah. And I think at least for me, that's the trap that I get in a lot. So as we move to the Practice Bae that I met on Facebook dating app, who, by the way, as we say Practice Bae, during the meditation time when I'm like, hey, I want to find somebody, I'm looking, I would like to date again. I like to find somebody that's special just for me or whatever. And very clearly in a meditation, I was told, heck, no, I was like, it's real cool. I'm real together on this mat, but I want to practice with someone. I want to be able to practice with somebody so that when I get my man, I don't
Mm-hmm.
lose my man because I haven't got it together.
Right.
And so anyway, so when met the guy that I met before I met my husband, it was very loving and wonderful. And oh my God, and the stars and the moons and the fireworks and the this and the that and whatever. There was definitely some red flags, but I was still very much in a space like, it's okay, it's all right, we
Yeah.
could do this, and at some point I did have one of my intuitive coach had said to me, like, either you gonna be his mate or his therapist, but you can't do both. So
Mm.
as a lot of times people feel safe to like come to me and really just share things and share things and share things. And there was a fine line. And so I definitely was just like, hey, are you interested in therapy? He's like, oh my God, yes, I would be, which was again like, oh my God, a black man that's like excited about going to therapy. Oh my God. It
Right.
was like all these a lot of green flags, but there definitely were some red flags. And so yeah, we embarked on this journey. He went to therapy, and I fell in love, and he appeared to fall in love with me, and it was a very loving connection. But it was a lot of how do you say fuddruckery going on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of, but under the guise of, but I'm single. That's him. I can do what I want. I'm single. You know what I mean? And so he
Right.
definitely broke some trust when I flat out asked him about some things. Like I was like, hey, if you decide to move differently, let me know. And when I think about it, I don't think he actually ever gave me a clear answer. That's probably his way out. Like, well, if I don't respond to her, then I didn't agree. So whatever. So then
Right.
when my intuition was just like, hey, randomly ask him this question. I had no idea where it came from. I asked him, and he looked like a deer caught in the head. I was like, oh. And in this Practice Bae, normal me, old me, would have just like cussed him, cleaned out. It just would have been a big thing. Which on one hand, he deserved it because you lied and this and that, whatever. But I'm not living in my power. You know what I
Right.
mean? By doing that. And so when stuff would come up that was questionable, I very much took a very soft approach to it of like, well, why would you do that? Like, what's going on? Like, help
Mm-hmm.
me understand. I asked, just very calm questions. And I'm not gonna lie, there was at least one time when we got done talking and I felt like a whole punk because I'm so used to being so when stuff is clearly wrong and egregious and you need to
Yes.
be dealt with. And for me to
Yes.
be so soft and like caring, and again, not excusing him, but instead of treating him like crap, I just treated him like a human. Like, well, why wouldn't you share that with me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you afraid of something? Like, you know what I mean? It was just conversation. And even though his answers still didn't make me feel great, I still stayed in the feminine power that had been working so hard to be in.
Yeah.
And I love that. And he said to me numerous times, like, you're such wife material. My gosh, like my goodness, you're such a good woman. Oh my God. And he would say, I just don't know what to do with you. Like, I don't know
Mm.
where to put you in my life. That should have been my red flag. But I just was like, us overachievers. That just means go harder.
Do more.
Yes, yes. Keep producing because my
Right.
worth is by what I produce.
Exactly.
So yeah, um, but yeah, it's and I remember telling like my girl EJ like. I need to get out this situation. I need to get out this situation, but I just don't know how. I don't know how. I'm trying. I even rehearsed a whole monologue with her, and she's like, "Okay, you good?" And then I pulled up to his house and I said the monologue. And do you know, literally, like I said, all these boundaries, and literally in 60 seconds, I broke them because I just wanted that connection. I wanted
Yeah.
things to continue. And then, I look back at it like, oh, poor Bree. You know what I mean? I really was just trying to figure it out and try things and whatever. And the turning point for me was being on Facebook and seeing an announcement that he was in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? I thought she was single. I am single. I am single. And it definitely got to a point where I even said, like, again, because I wasn't quite in my power all the way. I
Right.
just was like, why don't you want me? Why aren't I enough? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I said that. And as the end of that relationship was coming, um, my intuition was just like, or my spirit guides, whoever, was just like, get back on the dating app. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, but I don't want to. Like,
Right.
I want this to work. And nope, you
Yes.
asked for practice. This is practice. Stop trying to make him your husband. Get back on the dating app. And like, I really was just like, I fought with myself just for a
Yeah.
little bit,
You were
not
super
very long.
reluctant. You were like, well, why?
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? And I begrudgingly got back on the app, and within a few days, I think my husband popped up in my shit. So the
Yep.
importance of being obedient to yourself
Right.
because I had manifested it. I casted the spell. I said what I wanted. I want a man, but I want to practice with a man first before he comes. Honor that. So my higher self kept checking in, like, excuse me, hello, remember,
Ma'am.
this is just practice. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what you're like. Stop. Like, no, he ain't it. No, he not the one. Would you stop?
Are
But
you
I love him.
listening?
But I love him. That's great. He's not it. so
Yeah. Listen.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. And that's I'm just, again, the healing had to happen because I still would have been like rationalizing and analyzing and second guessing myself. And when my body would tell me one thing, my brain would kick in and be like, no, that's not what it is. Let me tell you what it is. And so again, that's why that healing was so important, because my old self would never have been able to navigate that as I did. It wasn't as graceful as I would like, being a perfectionist. But hey, DJ.
No, that's Sabrina.
Yeah.
You saw yeah.
Can I say hi to Fergie?
Yeah, here. Go ahead, Bri. I'm listening.
um, and yeah, just being open to the process and still enjoying the experience of the relationship, but also understanding it needed to come to an end. You know what I mean? And not drag it out as we have. We were clearly just in relationships. We were just dragging out. So finally to be like, yo, move around. You need to move around. And I'm just like, okay, I'm back on the app. Exactly. That's how I felt.
Oh my goodness, I feel it. I feel it so, and it's just so interesting. Like every time we talk about this, just how mirrored our journeys were. Because I met two men, but I met one that was like, oh my goodness, I could just see myself with him forever, and everything is wonderful. And just like Bri was saying, we were very much practicing, what's it called? Like honing in on our feminine energy, honing in on our ability to attract instead of chase, honing in on our ability to move in a less masculine way, like not bark at people for honestly no apparent reason. Like we know that we know that we can snap back, we know that we can clap back, we know that we can be those type of women, right? But but it wasn't serving us. at all. It wasn't serving us. It wasn't going to change anything in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, us clapping back and being upset.
Fox.
Yeah, Bruce Shock says hi. Hi, DJ. Us responding in that way wasn't going to change the situation at all. So my I would say my practice bae was a man who was not exactly someone I would go after, but just went for a vibe, you know. And something told me, like, I remember Brie and I would work with our pendulum, we would journal, we would meditate, you know, we were working on our manifestation, all of these things. Again, working on really, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but just melting into our feminine energy and just allowing that to just cover us from head to toe. This man was the first man who I would, like, we worked together and we would connect before work, and I would just like, bless you, buddy. I would just like sit in his lap and just like take a nap, you know, and I never did that in my previous relationship. I said, bless you, buddy. You can, it's okay. They don't have to say bless you if they didn't hear it, unless it was a pretend sneeze. Anyways.
That was a real.
I never did that with my previous relationship because.
I hear it.
Okay, DJ. Okay.
Oh,
because I wanted him. DJ. While I'm doing this video, you have to be quiet, buddy. Okay? Okay. Because I wanted him to initiate those kinds of things. I was, I guess, just expecting things out of him that didn't make any sense because I never communicated it to him. I never said to him, like, hey, I would really love it if you just, like, invited me to sit on your lap every once in a while and we could just sit there and cuddle. Now, mind you, he would come to me all the time and want to sit on my lap and want to cuddle. He was very much that man.
Okay.
But then once I responded in a certain kind of way, he kind of stopped doing that. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I wanted to be, you know, the little spoon. You know? And so with this practice relationship, I was able to just do that. And the funny thing was that this man was shorter than me, so I was like kind of the big spoon and the little spoon at the same time. But I was practicing just like letting it happen, and I felt so safe. Like sometimes I would cry. And those were the first times in which I'd ever practiced something like that, where, you know, I would always approach him very gently, very lovingly. Even when I had concerns or things that were bothering me, I would always come from like a place of, you know, again, like, why would you do that? You know, let's talk about this. I don't understand. Like, I just want to understand. Because me, again, popping off and getting angry and yelling about things is not coming from a place of me trying to understand. It's coming from a place of me just being frustrated. And that's all fine and dandy. I have the right to be frustrated, but you know, what's the purpose of this conversation? The purpose should be to communicate, to have a dialogue. And oftentimes, women, I'm going to say black women, because in my experience, I have seen us do this, black women in my life, we pop off and we don't come from a place of wanting to have a dialogue. All we want to do is yell and exert energy while having a monologue. We just want to be heard. And that was something else that Brie and I experienced, was our lack of being heard in previous relationships, you know? So then that's where that yelling and screaming and like wanting to demand attention and demand to take up space, when in reality, us just existing. Like I'm taking up space right now. And, you know, I mean, if you want a child to stop yelling, you whisper to them. That's what you don't yell back. You whisper to them. And then they have to come down to your level to meet you where you are. And then you can have a dialogue and you can have a conversation. But, this man was living with his father. No problem. That's not, I mean, hey, that's fine. But the relationship that he had with his father was strange. It was like his father still treated him like a child. And, I mean, I go over his house, and it was like one of those, almost like we were like 13 years old, like, leave the door open type shit. Like, and it was weird. And again, because I'm in this, but I love him, and he's the best, and he's the bee's knees, and it can't be that bad. You know, I'm over here trying to rationalize it, trying to make it okay. You know, Brie and I are having conversations. She like, girl. And I'm like, no, it's kind of weird, right? Like, I'm like, but I think it'll be okay. Like, I think it'll be okay. And she's like, I don't know, baby. And I'm like, but I think maybe it might be okay. Maybe. Because I wanted it so badly to be okay. Like, I wanted it so badly to be okay. And it wasn't until... what happened? Oh, so we used to work overnight shifts together, right? So, and he lived super close to me. Like, we lived in the same city. And sometimes we would carpool. So we had driven back to his house after work. and I don't remember if he was going to take me home or whatever, but we were sitting in his car, like cuddling, and we ended up falling asleep. In his driveway, in his car, and his dad lost it. And I was like, yo, this can't be real. For real?
Yeah.
For real? Like, we are full-blown adults, literally working. Like, this is how we met at work. We didn't meet, like, we're not coming from the strip club, falling asleep in the car. You know what I mean? At 2 a.m. No, like, what? So that kind of started pushing me away, and it made me a lot more hesitant to even, like, spend time with him or converse with him or whatever. But what really tipped me off was a lie. Wouldn't you know? It was a lie. So I only have one, like, really, really firm rule is I don't date people who smoke cigarettes. Because I deeply believe that smoking cigarettes is a choice to kill yourself more quickly. It's a choice. Like, you can decide whether or not. Stand over there, please.
Huh?
What's up?
I took my PJs off so
I see. Because you had to go to the restroom?
No, because I gotta change my clothes.
Okay, go in your room and I'll help you change your clothes in just a few minutes.
Okay.
This man. He has PJs in his hand. I'm like, sir, don't let me see you in your little undies. Anyways, it was a lie. So he lied about the fact that he smoked cigarettes. His rationale was, well, I usually only smoke like one a day. I was like, first of all, what kind of fool purchases one cigarette a day? First of all, like,
A crackhead.
just from like an economic standpoint, who does that? I don't. What? Like, how much is one cigarette? I don't even know they sold cigarettes by the single like that. So
in the hood, they do.
Right?
They're called Lucy's. I'm sorry.
Like, I'd rather him say, like, yeah, I bum a Lucy off someone, you know what I mean, than him going to the liquor store and actually purchasing one cigarette. But anywho, that was my only rule. And the thing that bothered me the most was he was so adamant about concealing it, you know. And again, he would tell me the same thing that Bree was talking about. This man would tell her, you're such an amazing woman. My goodness, you'd make such an incredible wife. Yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking to myself, looking back, like, were you ever going to tell me? Like, when were we going to have this conversation? Because me, from the jump, that's something else that I was practicing. Like, I have a child, you know. This is that. Like, I was very direct and communicative over, like, the non-negotiables in my life up front with everyone. Because I'm like, you need to know these things. You need to know these things. And I was reluctant to cut him off. Like, it felt weird. It felt like, and I think I had a conversation with Bree about it too. I definitely had a conversation with Bree
I'm like, I know we did.
right? I was like, no, we talked about it for sure. Because I was like, you know, am I expecting too much of him? Like, am my standards too high? You know? And she basically responded like, nah, like, these are your standards. You're not wrong for having these standards. It's not like you're expecting, you know, this man to be an astronaut and make the, you know what I mean? Like, it's not those kinds of expectations. It's like, I mean, standards are a whole nother conversation. But there was nothing wrong with me not wanting to be with someone who smoked. There was nothing wrong with that. You know, that was my right or whatever, you know, to move that way. And, but yeah, breaking it off with him felt weird. It felt like I was being too needy, or like I was expecting too much. My standards were too high. It felt real weird. And it took me a little while to like fully let him go.
And you worked with each other, so then you had to see him, right?
Exactly. Gratefully, I was working at Amazon at the time. And after peak season, which is like, which we just passed, you know, like holiday time, things changed drastically as far as like your hours and stuff like that. So I had like a good excuse to leave pretty soon after that.
Okay.
But we worked together. Gratefully, we didn't like work in the same department or anything, but I would still see him, and it was weird. But you know, it's just something that you kind of have to get over. Like, there's nothing wrong with seeing someone that you used to date. You know, like, you ain't gonna die. You know, so you just kind of have to go through those uncomfortable situations at times. And kind of lean into what you want and the things that make you happy and make your heart smile. And sure enough, not soon after that, I popped back on Facebook dating, and lo and behold, my husband's there. And I almost didn't message him because his name is Grover.
I almost didn't message mine because I was like, he didn't even have a real name.
Right.
So it was just like, it was a bunch of like consonants.
It's a sham.
What the hell is this?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I'm thinking since we're almost an hour in, maybe our actual relationship, the fiance part, maybe that's a part two. So that, because that ain't gonna be a quick
It's
conversation.
not. You're
So
right. You're absolutely right. I hear what you're saying, and I believe you are correct. I was kind of thinking that, but
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
because we got a lot
yeah,
to say about this. I mean, and a lot of
right,
it, all of it, is just things that we've learned that we
right.
deeply believe will be beneficial for people to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
It is, and I love the fact that when you're not used to getting what you want, you're afraid to ask for stuff. You know what I mean?
yes.
Because like you say, we've yelled about what we needed before and it wasn't done.
Exactly.
So now I'm in this new situation and I've decided the one thing I learned, and I know I said it to you, was just like, I have a choice. Like I have
Yes.
choices now. I never really knew I had choices. And so you had a choice. Like
Mm-hmm.
you realize I have a choice. I don't want a smoker. And so
Right.
I don't want this. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to accept it just because he has all these other wonderful characteristics. Like, no, I'm not feeling this. And again, because we're not used to getting it, when it's now that it's over, you're second guessing yourself.
Yes.
Am I just being selfish? Like, am I here making bad choices? Again,
Yeah.
it's our old selves creeping in the same way. My old self was like, you a punk for letting him, for talking to him like that.
And that was a whole
You're
other conversation we had, right? Because you were like,
yeah,
I feel like a pushover. Like, I don't like this. And I'm like, baby, you're
yeah.
not. Like, I promise, baby girl. I'm trying to hug you to the phone. I'm like, no, Bree, no.
Right. I
Right.
yeah, it's rough when you again stepping into that power. It
Mm-hmm.
can be rough because it's not a survival technique. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? The same way people feel, conscious parenting is punking out. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Right.
you the parent, you supposed to do. But again, when you're used to the survival techniques, it does feel very strange, and it is like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think this is right. Like so,
Right.
I get it, but yeah, just being empowered to know that we have choices, and again, the
Yes.
self awareness, because the self awareness was I don't feel good about this decision a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and um, but I'm not gonna have a knee jerk reaction
Right.
and just bounce back and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Let's work it out." I'm
Right.
gonna sit in this. It's uncomfortable, and I'm
Yep.
gonna sit in it, and
Yep.
I'm gonna see if I can navigate my way through it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we both did with those uncomfortable things to
Yeah.
get to just the place that we wanted to be. So again, we needed that practice
Mm-hmm.
with those people to be able to walk that journey and see what it feels like and what to expect and what not, so that we could show up even better the next time love came around.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us thought love would come so fast.
Nope. And then that was another part of it, was like, to your point of the voice in your head, your intuitions, not your intuition, I would say, I don't know, maybe it's your ego that's driving that doubt. This can't be it because it's happening too fast.
Mm,
Maybe you should have given it this amount of time.
mm,
Maybe this is another practice. But your
mm-hmm.
intuition is like, nah, boo boo, you better keep moving because this is it. Keep showing up the way you was showing up. Keep holding yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Keep moving in that feminine energy. Keep remembering that you have choices. You know what I mean? Because even though we met our husbands, they weren't perfect initially. I mean, they still aren't perfect.
Yeah,
Not perfect,
neither are we.
period. But there was a difference in expressing something to someone who is there to hear you
Yeah,
versus expressing something to someone and you're met with excuses. You're met with
yeah,
reasons why they did it and it don't make
yeah,
no sense. Or reasons why they did it and they're not holding themselves accountable. Or reasons why they're in a situation like the guy that I was dating would tell me all the time, like he wants to see his children more. And I'm like, okay, so see your children more. And he's like, but
right.
I have to work. And I'm like, so do most adults. Like, you, what? And his issue was, oh, well, I'm here and they're there and they live with their mom. And I'm like, oh, okay, but y'all communicate, right? Like, she's not completely cutting you off. She's not completely ignoring you. No,
Right.
yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm not, And then it was even to the point where it was like, why did you even move away from them if you wanted to be closer to them so you can continue to have that relationship. I think he had 2 or 3 boys. And it was like, oh, because of this. Oh, because of my dad. And I'm like, but do you see the way your daddy treats you? Like, why wouldn't you just... Because in my mind, I'm like, I would go back to be closer to my children. Your daddy don't need you. It's not like his dad was like some old decrepit man that like needed to be cared for, Like, you have choices. But he wasn't even empowered enough to see he had choices in that situation and could do something different about his situation instead of just being like, well, they're 80 miles away and I have to work. I'm like, dog, first of all, the company that I work for is huge. I'm almost guaranteed that you can find another location over there, Right. Huh?
God is in Jesus.
What?
God is in Jesus because you said I'll make law.
Oh, okay, buddy.
Okay, take that part, please.
What?
Take that part, please.
No, go sit down, please. I'll be done in 5 minutes. Don't use your teeth. He's trying to take apart Legos. Goodness gracious. But yeah.
So it definitely was an eye-opening experience.
Yes.
Because they really were practice. I swear that's exactly what they were, and that doesn't diminish their being or the love or any of that. But they really were the people that we could have safe spaces with and like exist in these new ways, and it could be reciprocated. We could be a safe space, for them. It was trial and error. I just think we definitely had. I think we had way less error. Like, I can't recall you ever like popping off or like doing any of your old things, in that situation, with him. Even like I said, even through the madness of everything that was going on, you know what I mean? Like, we still were in our power. If anything, we might come to each other and be like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's so true. Get some very energetic voice messages.
yes. And instead of, taking it out on them. And again, that goes back to what I was just saying about catching yourself.
Yeah.
You make the mistake and it's after, and then you catch it when it's happening, you catch it before. And we were, and then at some point it's not even how you move anymore. So you don't even have to catch anything because you're not even doing it anymore. So the fact that, we were able to, catch ourselves and move differently was fantastic. But we're still human. It wasn't just like, oh, my big feelings don't exist. Right. So it was, I'm going to be emotionally intelligent in this conversation, and then I'm going to hit my girl up and be like, what the hell?
Right.
And that's okay. Like, being emotionally intelligent isn't not having big emotions. For me, when big emotions surge in me, there's energy, and that energy wants to talk or yell or like something. Like, it needs to come out vocally, like it just has to.
Yep.
And so being able to not do it in the moment, and very much honoring myself, not even like I'm holding myself together so I don't explode. That wasn't even it. I'm very much just like, well, I'm curious and tell me, like you said, I want to understand and this and that. And then I'm sitting with it later, and then I'm dissecting things, and I'm just like, well, that don't make no damn sense.
Right.
And
you didn't even answer the question.
but just the energy was delayed, but it just was, I think it was just my confirmation of just like, yeah, you cool and you smooth and you're nice and you're kind, but you still not gonna let somebody walk all over you. You're still gonna acknowledge what doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And sit with my awareness and myself, check in with my healing partner, like, yo, this is what's going on, get that confirmation. And not because I can't make decisions on my own, but we had our souls had already decided that we was gonna be healing partners on this journey together.
Right, exactly. And the beautiful part, or another beautiful aspect of it, was being able to not only bring it to you for, I always was hoping for validation, but sometimes you would come to me like, actually, from this perspective, this is how I see it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even, wow. And both of us were really good at, or still are, really, really great at viewing situations objectively, even though we can share that passion and that energy back and forth of just needing to get it out and have a conversation, and still come back together like, actually, babe, like, did you think about this? Or, and of course, the most difficult part of it is we're having conversations together about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, our focus is ourselves or each other. You know what I mean? Like, even though you're bringing something to me about your partner or about that person, it really is like, you know, how could I have moved better? Or how could I have moved differently? And, you know, at the end of the day, we can only kind of stipulate, because we don't know how someone is going to respond to our behavior, but we do know how we can move and how that makes us feel, you know. And like you said, we were doing a really, really great job practicing not popping off, moving in a way that felt good to us, you know. And one thing we can't control is how it's going to be interpreted by someone else, but we can absolutely control, you know, because after you pop off, you don't feel good afterwards. You don't feel balanced. You don't feel, you know what I mean? Like, you feel, it's almost like you are giving yourself more energy that needs more movement, because it's not, it's almost like you're moving energy in a vacuum instead of moving it, like, you know, outside in a field where you're moving it and it's releasing. When you're in that like pop off stage, you're moving it around, but it's not going anywhere. It's still there. So after that conversation or argument or whatever is over, you still feel riled up. You still feel like, you know, like you're ready to do something, you know. And so so being able to cope and release it in a healthy way, you know, was really, really pertinent to our healing and having healing conversations and moving in a different energy and embracing our feminine side and all of these things, because again, we had that safe space with each other. We were able to move that way with the people that we were dating, and it was just all around, like you said, it was practice, it was healing, it was very necessary. Like, it needed to happen. It really, really did.
Absolutely. Yes, we are thankful.
Yes. But yes, we will have to do a part 2. Bree will get together and see when we can make that happen. I have to wrap up this stream because I got to get DJing class in like 20 minutes. But thank you, beloved. Thank you so much for being here again. We'll absolutely have to continue this conversation. Did you want to sign off with any additional thoughts? Hold on, buddy.
Thank you for having me as always. And if, you know, anyone is needing some help working with the, you know, inner child stuff and the, you know, the things that are keeping us in these holding patterns, I am more than happy to chat. You can reach out to me at sabrinawells.org. And I would be happy to just chit chat with you and help you make your dreams come true. Because it's a new year, and it ain't got to be a new you, but, you know, why not a happier you, more peaceful you, joyful you? You know, let's do that. But yeah, I can't wait to have part 2 so we can get into the good stuff about our hubbies.
Birdman hand rub.
Oh my God.
Fergie said, "Bless you, teacher."
I know, buddy. So thank you, my love, again for being here. We absolutely have a part 2. All of Bree's contact information, her website, her TikTok, her Instagram, her Facebook will all be in the description of this YouTube video. Again, if you're catching this replay on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please leave your thoughts, comments, opinions, questions. If there's any questions we can answer for you when we get to part 2, please let us know. We might even have a part 3. Who knows? It might be a whole series. I don't even know. But thank y'all for watching. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you, Fergie. Thank you, BroShocks. Thank you, anybody else who popped in and viewed the live stream here on Twitch. I will be back tomorrow. I think I'm having a chat with Diana tomorrow. If you'd like, if you're in the chat, please say goodbye to my son, DJ. He is desperate for attention. Oh, Rebecca, thank you so much for following. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, happy to have you.
Oh, I wrote that, buddy. But yes, thank you, loves. We will be back soon. I will be back tomorrow. Have a beautiful day. Bree, you ain't got to go yet, but goodbye, stream. Have a wonderful day.